Learning Simplified. My name is Eric. I'll be taking you through this topic length, and for this lesson, we're going to look at perimeter of a parallelogram. So you want to see what a parallelogram is, and after that, we'll go through a few questions on perimeter of a parallelogram, and of course, at the end of the lesson, we'll give you some assignments to help you practice, and just to help you check on your understanding of the concepts as discussed during this lesson. So what does it mean when you talk about a parallelogram? So we have a basic definition of, or basic explanation of what a parallelogram is. So we say that a parallelogram is one, it's a quadrilateral, and then two, it has two pairs of parallel sides. Last time when we were talking about trapezium, we did describe a trapezium as a quadrilateral with exactly one pair of parallel sides. So that makes it slightly different from a parallelogram, which then must have two pairs of parallel sides. So there are a few other characteristics of a parallelogram, some of which are as listed in the, or as displayed on the screen. We have the opposite sides of a parallelogram being equal in length. And that is maybe to say, maybe you can see the length AD and the length BC. So this length and this other length are supposed to be of the same measure, you know. Again, we have this side here and the other side. These ones are also supposed to be the same in magnitude. So that is a part of special characteristics of parallelograms. We also have opposite angles being equal. So opposite angles, we have something like the angle at A, which can be described as angle DAB being equal to the other one at C, which can be described as angle BCD. So the two angles are supposed to be equal in magnitude. Other than that, we also have the interior angles on the same side of a transversal being supplementary. When you talk about a transversal, you know, so this side here is parallel to this other side here. So if you have a line that is joining or crossing both, you know, the parallel lines, then we have that line being described as a transversal. So when we have the interior angles on the same side of the transversal are supposed to be supplementary, meaning if you add the two, you're supposed to be getting 180. That means that when you have angle BAD, you add to angle BCD, this is equals to 180 degrees. You see? So these two angles here, the angles you are calling angles on the same side of a transversal. So the transversal in this case could be AD. You see? So these characteristics of a parallelogram are important in answering a few questions in mathematics. We can, maybe sometimes you can be given a question or maybe in a particular test whereby you're supposed to apply some of these characteristics we are talking about now. So you may tend to think that they are not really important. You know, somebody would say, are they really important in the first case? But then they are, you know, you'll be given a question in an exam that you'll be required to use some of these characteristics that we are trying to mention as we start. So that is what a parallelogram is. So we want to see how you can find the perimeter of a parallelogram. You know, previously we discussed about a perimeter and we say the perimeter is the distance all around a given figure, you know. Like for example, you talk about A to B, that length you add to the length B to C, and then you add to the length C to D, and finally the length D to A. So the distance all around this figure, that's what we are terming as the perimeter. So we want to see how then do you find the perimeter of a parallelogram. Of course, it's easy, as we are going to see as we continue with the lesson. So we have a few examples to help us basically illustrate on how we are able to find the perimeter of a parallelogram. You know. So the first example we have is that the perimeter of a parallelogram is 58 centimeters, and one of its sides measures 14 centimeters. Find the length of each of the two longer sides. So we have this. So basically we are trying to sketch the parallelogram. So we have this, the parallelogram. Maybe you can try and name them, maybe the vertices. So we have A, B, C, and then D. So part of the information that is given is that we have one of the sides, So we don't know which one is 14, Let's assume 14 is here. So it means then the opposite side, if this 14 centimeters is taken to be AD, then the opposite side to AD should be BC, So this is supposed to be 14 centimeters. Now the other sides, or the other two longer sides, in the process of doing your calculations, you may realize that maybe the value you're going to find for a B could be shorter. So in that case, it simply means that your approximation wasn't right. So you simply interchange, you switch them. But what we do know is that if you take this to be m centimeters, for example, then the other one will also be m. You can decide to use any letter. I'm just using m, for example, Let the length AB to be m. You can even use x, or even y, or even t, any letter. So let's say AB is x. What that means then, DC should also be x. Remember, our objective is that we find the length AB. And then that is solving the problem, and then later on we'll be able to answer the question that is asked. So we try to apply, what it means when you talk about a perimeter, a distance all around, So perimeter is equals to the distance all around this figure, which is then going to be AB plus BC, and these are lengths. So length AB plus length BC plus length CD plus length DA. So we will try and substitute the given values into the formula that we have written in the same order in which the formula is written. So if you look at the equation that you have written here, or the formula that you have written, this formula starts with P. So you need to ask yourself, what does this P represent, and you check whether that information that is given as part of the information that is provided, So P stands for perimeter, and you see the perimeter of the parallelogram is given as 68. So we have 68 equals to, so we'll add all this. So AB is given as x, BC is 14. Remember, we are trying to find the value of x here. That is the length AB, which apparently is the longer side. That might not be true. That will depend on the value of x that you're going to get. So if you find a value that is less than 14, then that can't be the longer side of the parallelogram. Possibly you will need to switch them. But let's do the calculation first, and then after that we can be able to make a decision. So we have then CD is also x, and then DA is also what? 14 centimeters. So this then means that 68 is equals to x plus x is 2x, 14 plus 14 is 28. So we can continue from here. So 18, this 28 can move to the other side of the equation, so that we have 68 minus 28 is equals to 2x. We moved 28 from the left-hand side of the equation to the right-hand side of the equation, and that's changed the sign from positive to negative. So what do you get when you do this subtraction here? So this is supposed to be 40 equals to 2x. So we are trying to find the value of x by dividing both sides by 2. That then implies that x is equals to 20. Wow. That is better, because at least 20 is longer compared to 14, and that then qualifies AB, the length AB, to be the longer side of the parallelogram. So at least now find the length of each of the longer sides of the parallelogram. So the length that we are finding, or we are trying to determine, is equals to 20 centimeters. Again, we have to use the same units as the other one. So this is centimeter here. The other one is also centimeters. So let's look at another example. So we have find the perimeter of the figure below. So if you look at this figure here, we have some of the characteristics that we talked about, you cannot just assume that because the figure looks like a parallelogram, then it then means that it is a parallelogram. That might not be the case, it might not be the case. So you have to check, some of the properties that you have discussed when you are starting, like the opposite sides being the same, opposite sides being parallel. So you have to check those properties for you to confirm that this is really a parallelogram. Therefore, you can see this length here is parallel to this length. So it means you can also see this is indicated. This symbol here stands for, it's used when lines are parallel. That is the only time that this sign is used. So it means this side here is parallel to the other side, and this side is parallelogram. So from there, we can then make a conclusion and say the length down here, maybe you can decide to label them A, B, C, and then D. So we can say the length AB is equals to the length DC, which is then going to be 5 meters. The same applies to the length AD and the length BC, 6 centimeters each. So in finding the perimeter, you simply work out the distance all around the figure. So our perimeter is going to be AB plus BC plus CD plus DA. So you simply substitute. Now, we are not making the perimeter. That's what we're trying to find. But then we can substitute AB for what is given for that. So we have AB as 8.5, BC is 6, CD is also 8.5, and DA is 6 centimeters. So we have 8.5 plus 8.5. Maybe you can try do that math. We have discussed about that previously on one of our previous videos on addition of decimals. So we have 8.5, and then we are adding 8.5. So addition 5, you add to 5, that is 10, 0 carry 1. 1 to 8, 1 added to 8 is 9, and 9 plus 8 is 17. So we have 17.0, and then we are adding 6. So let me write 6.0. You fill up the spaces left using zeros. So you have 0, 17 plus 6 is 23. 3 carry 2, that is 13. So 3 carry 1, and 1 added to 1, that is 2. Then so we have 23.0. There is another 6 that we need to add there. So you'll write the 6.0. You fill up the spaces left using zeros. This is something that you have discussed on one of our previous videos on addition of decimals. You can check possibly if you missed out on that. So we have 0 plus 0, then it is 0. 3 plus 6 is 9, and 2 plus 0 is 2. So it means the perimeter here is supposed to be 29.0 centimeters. Again, we have a similar example. So the perimeter of a parallelogram is given as 50. The length of one of the two shorter sides is 10. Find the length of each of the longer sides. See. So again, we'll simply try and sketch the parallelogram. So this is A, B, C, D. So you have the total perimeter here is given to be 50 centimeters. So now you are told the length of one of the two shorter sides is 10 centimeters. It means this is 10 centimeters, and this other one is also 10 centimeters. So we don't know what these other ones are. So maybe I will call it Y, and the other one I will also call it Y. So what I know is that I can try to find the perimeter of this figure, which is basically the distance all around this figure. So we have AB added to BC, we have CD, and then we have finally we add DA. So the perimeter we see AB is Y, this is CD is